All right, everybody. Good morning. We are moving along with our draft evaluations, and now it's time for our new position, left guard. That's right. We're isolating left guard today, just taking a look at guys that I think will end up there. And we need to spend a minute on that. Now, first of all, I think the reason why the Seahawks need to think about this is pretty obvious. As of me recording this video, and again, this video is being recorded a little bit in advance, a couple days, so things could change. But as of me recording this video, we literally don't have a left guard on the roster. And the options, if the season started tomorrow, are limited. So even if we sign a guy, there's probably a need to draft a left guard. But beyond that, I want to stress something here, and this is going to go for every time we talk about offensive linemen in this series. It is really hard to tell sometimes where an offensive lineman is going to end up in the NFL. Frequently, players end up at certain spots at college because the team needed them there, and the player was so physically dominant he could succeed on some level regardless of where he was put. But in the NFL, you're going to really have to seek out that position that accentuates your strengths and minimizes your weaknesses. So we're going to talk about some left guards here. Some of the guys we talk about in this video series today are going to potentially end up playing center. Maybe they swing over to the right side. Maybe they bump out to tackle, although that's very rare. My point is, understand that just because a guy may not land at one spot, he might get a chance to land at another spot. Justin Britt was drafted as a tackle. We played him at right tackle for a year. He was terrible. We moved him to guard, and he was terrible. Then we moved him to center, and he was really good. So sometimes you have to hit a couple branches before you grab the branch that is able to hold your weight. So if you see a player you like here, understand that it could be for more than just left guard specifically. I'm just grouping them by some reasonable assumptions. Okay, so we're going to talk about two guys in this video. We'll call them the top 50 left guards. Guards that are projected to go in the top 50 of the draft, the first round and a half, basically. Tyler Booker's the top guy here, Alabama, 21 years old. He looks like everything you could want. He's big, he's tall, he's got long arms. He's got tackle arms. He's got some of the biggest hands of any guard prospect ever. 11-inch hands, absolutely freaky. So physically, he is everything you could ever want a player to be. Unfortunately, that comes with a drawback of him really not testing well. And we live in a world where offensive linemen are expected to be pretty athletic. So when he ran his 4.38 40, 1.96 10-yard split, you had to kind of pop up a little bit and go, wait a minute, how much of this is going to translate to the pro game? He didn't jump well. He didn't run good drills. Bench press was weak. He had a terrible combine, and it's impossible to ignore. It was so bad that I don't think you can just say, watch the tape. You can do that somewhat, but it's only going to go so far. Now, the big boards are pretty split. Some have him in the first, some have him in the second. Walter Football has him in the top 10. The aggregate, as of me taking this data, had him 22nd. So they do think he's a first-round guy. One thing that's worth noting is in 2024, he arguably regressed as a player. He picked up way more penalties. His PFF grade was lower. His run blocking was considered to be much worse than it had been in previous years. And it wasn't the big hammer year that you would expect a player like him to have. So we are talking about a guy here who didn't stick the landing. And it's a little bit hard to figure out, right? Because he is blocking for Jalen Milroe, who is a guy who is very hard to block for because he's going to be running around constantly. Like I said, he looks the part and then some. He's actually one of the bigger guard prospects you could ever find, especially when you look at his appendages. He's very strong, very powerful. He is a guy who can just win on straight up strength. He can just straight up manhandle an opponent. He's really hard to get off of you once he's on you because his hands are so big. he latches on, and he's so strong it's really hard to shake him. He's cerebral when dealing with complex blitz packages. If you try to throw a stunt at him or a twist at him, he's going to be able to stave it off. So he's smart and he's savvy. He understands body positioning. He understands how to angle his body when he's hitting in like a duo block. He understands the right position to be in to hit certain blocks. So he's got a good grasp of all that. You're not going to bull rush this guy. Trying to bull rush this guy is really, really hard. Even if you can get into his chest, he's just so strong. And I do think the fundamentals with him are very strong when he's playing in space. If you look at Alabama's zone run game, he can play in space based on the tape at Alabama. You have to wonder how it translates, and we'll get to that in a second. But one thing you cannot take away from Booker is that he is fundamentally sound when you put him in space offensively. So we have to try to figure out how that fits in with him having miserable testing scores. Like, these testing scores are so bad, you have to wonder. 5.38 40. Remember, offensive linemen 25 years ago were not nearly this athletic. 5.38 is bad by the standards of 20 years ago. Now it's really, really bad. Like, offensive linemen are getting slimmer and faster by the year. And this just cannot help but stand out. Speed rushers do give him problems. I think that a guy who can get the edge on him, obviously he's a guard, but if you can get the edge on him, that's really frustrating for him. He is a waist bender, and honestly, most college offensive linemen are waist benders, but he is somebody who will kind of bend his waist going into contact, which throws him off balance. When he gets beaten by speed, he gets grabby, which is part of the reason why he attracted so many penalties last year. 7 penalties. And even though his arms are really long and he's able to deal with it because he's so strong, he does expose his chest to the defender more than I think he should. So are some issues to work through here. I don't know why I said windows. I feel like if I'm going to be spending a high pick on a guard, I want him to be a more ideal scheme fit. And this kind of reminds me of Oluwatimi, where Oluwatimi had bad testing scores, but he had proven on tape that he was really good in zone. So you had to kind of try to balance those two elements. And it was hard. Ultimately, the results have been okay. But if I'm spending a first-round pick on him, I can't have okay. Oluwatimi was a fifth-round pick. If he's okay, that's totally fine. So I would take him at the right point. He does have some remarkable attributes about him, like his size, like his arm length, like his hands. But I can't do the first round. Early second round, I think, is totally cool, though. I would take him in the early second round. He's good enough for that. I think he can do the zone stuff adequately. I'm just a little bit worried this is going to be like an Oluwatimi thing where he's workable, tolerable. You wish it was a little bit more. And we already, in theory right now, have one offensive lineman that is just okay in space because his movement skills are, well, his skills are good, but his raw ability is kind of weak. I don't know if I want another one. But early second round, the value becomes too good to pass up. There are things he's going to be able to do in the NFL. No matter what, he's going to be able to overpower people. Okay, one more top 50 left guard for this video. Let's go take a look at him right now. Donovan Jackson of Ohio State. This is the guy that I think Seahawks fans are even starting to like a little bit more than Booker. Ohio State, 22 years old. Pretty good size. Remember, he's a left guard, and these percentiles are for all guards. So he's a little bit bigger than a typical left guard, but nothing critically so. Pretty good arm length and decent hand size. The big boards mostly have him in the second. One has him in the third, one has him in the first. Aggregate has him in the early second round. Has had 2 pretty good seasons at Ohio State. Didn't kind of a little bit of a wet fart in 2024. He missed, how much time did he miss? I think that he missed some time. I can't remember how much exactly, but I know he missed some time. And he also had to play left tackle, which made him look a lot worse than he is. So that is something to keep in mind here. They had him playing left tackle, and that didn't go very well. So you're going to look at these numbers, and you're going to be like, wow, this guy can't pass protect. No, they had him playing tackle. And he still didn't do terribly. He held his own. So he's powerful, and he knows how to do the like the re-anchor to face a bull rush and eat it up. If you bull rush him, he's going to swallow it up because he is strong enough, and he knows how to do like that little frog jump. I think you guys know what I'm talking about when you're trying to re-anchor as an offensive lineman and you have to do like that frog jump. Finishes through the whistle. No one doubts his effort. He doesn't give up on the play. He's always looking for more work to do even after his block is done. He's got good enough length that can often just kind of automatically give him a dub against some defensive linemen. Physically, he is pretty much just what you're looking for in an interior lineman. Again, maybe he's a little bit bigger than the average left guard, but not enough to matter. He can also cover a decent amount of territory. He can protect his gaps to either side. He's somebody that's hard to like get the edge on. And if you look at the tape, he does have the ability to play in space. He has the ability to play on the move. So Donovan Jackson, good prospect. Now, I would say that speed rushers still give him a hard time. Again, he's going to be at guard. That's going to help. But there are speed rushing 3-techs that I think are going to be hard for him. Sometimes he loses balance. Sometimes he lets his body get out of alignment with his feet, and he loses balance. Lateral agility is lacking a little bit. He does find ways to overcome it. But overall, if you were just looking at him as an athlete, it's a little bit lackluster. He's got to learn how to keep his hands inside. He lets his hands get outside too much, which exposes his chest. And that's going to make it a little bit harder for him to win against power in the NFL. Cannot let that happen. And I think his footwork on the move needs work. That is something that is pretty fixable. I do think a lot of the things with Donovan Jackson are relatively fixable. And again, I think we would have a much rosier disposition on him if he wasn't coming off a season where he had to play so much left tackle. He's not a perfect zone scheme fit, but I think he's a better fit than Booker. And I would definitely seek him out no matter what. I don't think that he's scheme specific. I think he's relatively scheme flexible. I don't know what his testing numbers would have been because he didn't test, but I do think that he's pretty scheme universal. So I'd say early second round, and I'd probably like this a little bit more than Booker because I think he's a better scheme fit. I do think Booker's a better raw prospect, though, so it's a little bit tough. And I don't want to get too caught up in scheme fits when I do think Booker is incapable. This is the part where it's really hard to balance out everything. It's really hard to figure out exactly where you land on stuff. All right, let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. And more left guard videos coming later today. There aren't going to be a ton of these because we're being very specific. But let me know what you think. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Those are your top 2 left guards. If you want a borderline blue chip left guard, those are your best 2 options. But we'll take a look at some more guys that are interesting later.